It's been a minute since the Chainsaw Man Reze movie was in theaters, and the next season of Chainsaw Man was recently announced. I think it's a good time to talk about a scene that has been living rent-free in my head. Every time I've rewatched a movie, I always find something new and always looking forward to that scene each time, which helps since it's pretty much at the start of the movie. The scene in question is the date with Denji and Makima. This scene is simple. Two people going on a date at the movie theaters, but was it actually a date? That depends on what you consider a date to be, but first, let's set up the scene. Also, spoilers for those that haven't seen the movie or reached this point in the manga. This is your only warning. It was Makima who offered to take Denji out on a date after introducing the MVP of the Reze arc and finding a way to write off power for the rest of the movie. She said they didn't have any work to do the next day and wondered if Denji would be interested in going on a date. And of course, he said yes, and let's be real, almost anybody would. We learned that Denji had waited outside the movie theater for about 3 hours before he was supposed to meet up with Makima. There isn't any problem being early, but it is ridiculous, of course, and no one should be sleeping that bad, even if it is for Makima. And of course, we get to see Makima in a different outfit, one that will never be seen being cosplayed. She is dressed rather conservatively, but still pretty hot. Denji has never really been on a date with a girl, and when Makima tells him they're going to watch movies all day until midnight, he just goes along with it. The first movie they watch appeared to be some kind of action comedy that both of them didn't enjoy. Apparently it costs a lot of money to make. Let's say it's some movie post-Endgame. And I'm calling my shot here, Doomsday is not going to live up to fan expectations. The next movie they watch is some kind of sad movie that made most of the audience cry, except Makima and Denji, so let's say it's Interstellar. The third movie apparently had good music and was the most notable thing about it, so let's say Dune. The movie after that looks like it's some kind of horror movie, but Makima said the story was unbelievable, so let's say it was Return to Silent Hill. The fifth movie was mid, according to Makima. Couldn't really tell what they're watching, so let's say, hey editor, put a mid movie on screen.
No, I don't think I will.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're watching that movie. And yeah, it was mid. The last and final movie they watched was actually based on a real movie called Ballad of a Soldier. It's a Russian movie made in 1959. Despite its title, the movie's actually a romance about soldiers going off to war during World War II. It's focused on the people soldiers leave behind when they fight: family, friends, and lovers. The scene that made both Makima and Denji cry was the final scene, where a soldier comes home to see his mother for a few minutes and hugs before having to return back to the front lines with his unit. Ballad of a Soldier won a few awards, including the BAFTA Award for Best Film from Any Source, and was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. I can see why it made Makima and Denji cry. And the best part is, you can actually watch Ballad of a Soldier for free on YouTube. Link in the description below if you're interested. I might have to watch it after this. Anyways, back to the main topic. After they watched their last movie, they both seem to agree they enjoyed the movie. Earlier, Makima says she enjoys 1 out of every 10 movies she watches, and it seems like this was the 1 in 10. And I do find it funny how Makima is a big movie watcher, and certainly would like to know what a movie review channel from her would look like. I would unironically subscribe to get her takes on movies. And well, I'd imagine it would be called something like Makima's Movie Minute.
Greetings and welcome to Makima's Movie Minute. Today we are taking a dive into Chainsaw Man the movie, Reze arc. This movie revolves around the themes of love and taking one's heart, in the metaphorical and romantic sense, and the physical sense, as all opposing parties are fighting for the right to obtain and or protect the chainsaw heart. Reze is introduced to the protagonist Denji as the manic pixie dream girl, come to sweep him away in a whirlwind teenage romance, only to reveal itself later to be a ploy to assassinate him and obtain the chainsaw devil residing in his chest. Throughout the movie's runtime, Denji and Reze's relationship portrays love as an avenue to freedom and honesty, that, in order to truly love, one has to be vulnerable, become equals with someone. Unfortunately, the concept of being equals with anyone through love is a fascinating yet facetious thought. Just look at what embracing this ideal has cost Reze at the end. Denji poses the question, everybody wants the Chainsaw Man's heart, but what about Denji's heart? This is the crux of the boy's tragedy, as the Demon Hunter's organization and society at large will only ever want him for his value as an asset, in lending his power for greater forces. This has been Makima's Movie Minute. Please drop a like and subscribe.
Huh, well, that was weird. I think I was in the middle of something. Oh, right. The date ends with Denji asking Makima if he had a heart, and well, she puts her head on his chest and says yes, before heading back home. Also, watching this movie in theater was oddly meta, and the irony wasn't lost on me. And that sums up my favorite scene. It was a little under 5 minutes, and like Makima said earlier, a good movie will have an impact on your life. Okay, I'll stop glazing the movie, but it was enjoyable. And I think we can generally agree this was far from being a date. Makima had to do very little interacting with Denji most of the day. They probably talked between movies and waited for their next show to start, but still had very little interaction. She didn't have to do anything for the most part. At best, she was the one who bought the tickets and snacks for the both of them. Going to the movies isn't a bad idea for a date. The issue is doing it all day. Their date started at 8 a.m., and let's say the first movie they watched started at 9 a.m., which is about the average time a movie theater opens. They watch until midnight, and the average movie is about 90 to 120 minutes long, or an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So let's meet halfway and say an hour and 45 minutes or 105 minutes for each movie they watch that day, and they watch about 6 movies. That's 630 minutes, or about 10 hours and 30 minutes, in which Makima didn't have to do anything to interact with Denji. Of course, they spent time between movies at the cafe they kept cutting to. So let's say they spent about 30 minutes there each time, and they watched about 6 movies, so they were there about 3 hours at the cafe. In total, it's about 13 and a half hours, and from 9 a.m. to midnight is about 15 hours. With the remaining hour and a half, if you want to be charitable, you can say they might have had lunch at some point, or if you want to be cynical, you could say that time was spent watching movie trailers before the show. Either way, Makima barely had to interact or do anything with Denji until the end of the date, where she puts her head on his chest. And I hear you saying, well, she was the one who asked him out on a date. True. But I'd say it was just her way of monitoring and her way of rewarding him. After all, you have to treat your dog well once in a while to make sure they're obedient. The point of a date is for two people to get to know each other. Denji, at best, learns that Makima likes to watch movies. What did Makima learn about Denji? Well, a few things. She learns that he can be bribed with her attention, and showing the smallest amount of physical touch can get him to do almost anything. Of course, she already knew that. And what about the movies they watch? It was kind of random, right? It wouldn't surprise me if Makima just decided based on what was showing next, or decided what genre she hasn't watched that day. I honestly don't think she put that much thought into it, but I do believe she did some amount of research on some of the movies they watched, or she wouldn't have made that comment about the first movie they watched on having a large budget. Makima most likely didn't see it as a date. It was more like taking the dog out for a walk. And knowing how some fans act around Makima, I am sure they wish she was walking them. But at the very least, she treats him like a little brother. It was far from being romantic. Now, if those tears were genuine when she cried at the last movie, I personally think they are. I don't think she's completely devoid of emotions, just incredibly calculated and knows how to read a room. She is calculated on how she maintains her control over other people around her. So, yes, I think those were real tears to show Denji that it was fine to cry for this movie. And yeah, I get it. Denji wanted to hold back his tears to look manly, but it's like the late, great macho man Randy Savage once says,
"It's okay for macho men to show every emotion available."
If anything, showing vulnerability to your partner or someone you're interested in isn't a bad thing at all. So, guys and girls out there, it's fine to show emotions to someone you want to open to. That's some free dating advice for you guys. Denji, during the date, was acting like a simp. Let's be honest here, he was acting like a simp. He didn't voice any objections, and all he did was check out Makima, which, yeah, I get it. And this was his first date as far as we know. He does voice his opinions on if the movie was good or not, which was basically all he did for the majority of the date. He even said that he wasn't sure he understood movies, not sure if he was watching it right, and it might be true. After all, he was poor as shit at that point in his life. He wanted to impress Makima if he was watching it correctly. I think Denji inside knew the date was disappointing, but of course, it was most likely internalizing how great it was. Makima just putting her hand and head on his chest pretty much made the date worth it to him. And yes, of course, having physical contact is objectively a good thing, but this was calculated on her end. She uses his attraction for her as the carrot to pretty much get him to do whatever she wants. Just touching her chest was the equivalent of petting her dog. And for those ready in the know, well, you know. So, what was it about the scene that was under 5 minutes long that warranted me to make a video about it? Well, it's because it summarizes the entire dynamic between these two characters and hits completely different once you get the other half of the movie. Put yourself in Denji's shoes and you realize how miserable this would be. It doesn't matter how attractive Makima is. I don't think anyone should sit in a movie theaters for 2/3 of the day watching movies. And yes, I am sure there are people who say, I would! But realistically, I'm sure you eventually get bored or just want to do literally anything else with an attractive woman next to you. Once Reze and Denji go on their date, you can see how happy he actually is. He had to do so much more with Reze. And the funny thing is, he wasn't aware that it was a date the entire time. The whole scene alone, oh my god, it's such an incredible scene, especially on the big screen. You can feel the passion between these two characters and want them to be happy in the miserable world they live in. They deserve each other, and watching this young romance after seeing the cold and calculated date with Makima, it's clear as night as and day. And especially the second watching, you know their romance is doomed to fail. And of course, Denji was being lured by Reze for her purposes, as she was there to take his heart. Wow, that was unintentionally deep. And especially at the end, with her wanting to run away together, oh god, it does not get easier rewatching that final scene. I was begging Makima to let Reze go to Denji. I'll do whatever you want. You want me to bark like a dog? I'll bark. You want to use me as a chair? Oh god, I'll be your chair. Just please sit on. Wow. I mean, let Denji and Reze go. You do not hear that. Shit, I do that shit for free. The amount of control Makima has over Denji is shown, but of course, there's more to it than that. He didn't want to leave Reze because of his loyalty to Makima. No, there's more to it than that. You have to consider where he first started out, what he has in his life after that. It was all because of Makima. He wants to preserve that, even though he's just a wage slave. The amount of money the devil hunters make is just hazard pay. As someone who works a job where I get that, it's just their way of silencing your concerns in the unsafe work conditions. And you know what? That shit works. And as we bring this video to a close, I just want you to think about a piece of art that left an impact on you and what it means to you. For me, this scene shows how much we yearn for human contact. How we are willing to pretend a bad date was the highlight of your day, just to cope with not accepting that it could have been better. But it does bring you hope that there is something better just over the horizon. How each person interprets art, there are no correct answers, only interpretations. A very special thank you to my editor, Macross. He's the GOAT. He's been with me pretty much since day one. And a very special thank you to Fran Padilla for her amazing voice acting as Makima. Please check out her Twitch and YouTube, and I'll link her socials in the description below. And shout out to Cleylton Santos, who has done art for me before and has done it again. Amazing job as always for the thumbnails. Please check him out. We'll link his socials also in the description below. And of course, thank you for watching this video all the way through to the end. I make these videos for the love of the game, and it's just because it's just something fun to do, I think. And yeah, any support you can give, just a like and a subscribe goes a long way for me. And until next time, see you in the outer room.